virtually also, I think it was Tuesday. And but I will again introduce myself. So my name's Sarah Burgess. I've been a TXCPA member since I moved to Austin in 2018. And I've got to kind of be a part of the various committees within our organization. So it's been really fun. I've made a lot of great friends. I've also done the mentorship program. This is my second semester doing it. I still talk to my mentees from last time too. So it's a great opportunity to kind of connect. And especially I remember being on the mentee side. I remember sitting for my exams. I remember how valuable it was to be able to like have someone to turn to and just ask questions to as I was trying to figure out what am I doing with my career. So definitely take advantage of the time that you have. And, I just tell people, don't be shy because your mentors get just as much out of the relationship as you do. So they're here because they want to, and it's, a way to give back. And so yeah, definitely don't be shy. So today's topic is careers in accounting. It's always good to get perspective from people who work in different areas of accounting and finance. I know, kind of when you're in school, they really only teach you, okay, there's tax and audit, and, they can only cover so many things, but there's really just so many different careers in accounting that you could really be interested in. And, not everything is cut, or not everybody is cut out for every one type of thing. So it's really helps to get insight from people who are working in the field. What is their daily life like? What types of, projects they work on, so that you can kind of figure out, what you may be interested in, and as you navigate, your early career path. That's a little bit about me, a little bit about why we're here. I'm going to give our panelists a moment to introduce themselves, and I'm going to start with ladies first. So Kristen, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself,
Yes.
and tell us a little bit about, where you work, what your area of specialization is, and something fun about yourself.
Thank you, Sarah. My name is Kristen Arnold, and I have been licensed as a CPA since 2019. My experience in my career has strictly been in public accounting, and more specifically in tax services. So I have been practicing accounting since January 2016. Currently, I have my own CPA firm that I began in August 2022 that has been a challenge and also a really amazing shift in my professional life. When I'm not dealing with clients and tax issues and the IRS, I love to go to the beach and hang out with my fiance, my dog, and be outdoors here in Florida.
So what Kristen didn't say, unless you did, and I just missed it because I am blonde underneath here. So Kristen just moved. Not only did she just start her own CPA firm, but she just moved out of state and started her CPA firm in a new state. So two really big leaps. And she's just been, I think, really enjoying it.
Yes.
Oh. I'm just going to go down the order of my screen. Steve, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about yourself as well.
Yeah, sure. My name's Steve Kangas. I'm audit partner, and managing partner at DK Partners. We're about a 30 to 35 person firm based here in Austin. Before that, I was at PwC for about 8 years. And did I say I've been at DK Partners for about 16? Been a CPA for about 22 years. And in my free time, I like to play drums in a rock band, and I like to play with cars and go watch my daughters play their sports.
Yeah. So I actually used to work at Steve's firm, but in a different department. And I'm pretty sure that everyone dressed up as Steve for Halloween one year, but it was like rock band Steve.
Yeah, I have an alter ego that's very non-CPA related to the band.
I love that.
Ethan, Darlene, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself next?
Yeah, so I started out in public accounting, worked at KPMG for about 4.5 years or so, and then moved from Houston to New York in that time, did the New York 4 years, New York kind of thing. And then decided to get a little bit more space and moved to Austin. And that's when I joined Epicor, where I work out with Sarah. So I'm a senior manager over here. Been a CPA for about 9 years. So I've kind of been on both the public side and the industry side. And then something I do for fun is also hang out with my fiance and dogs. But in addition to that, I like to race bikes here in Austin. Not the motor kind, just the pedal kind. Yeah, we do that throughout the year here. So because the weather's, as Sarah mentioned, already getting hot. So anyway, yeah, that's some facts about me.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you. I know we're all excited to have you guys here. And it's interesting that, you know, each of you has a really different background, which is why I think you complement each other really well. So just definitely excited to hear more and have you share your experience with our mentees. So I guess I just kind of want to start with, you know, can you tell us a little bit about how you ended up in your current role and, you know, kind of thinking back to when you were starting your career? Is this where you thought you would be, or was this kind of in your plan? And Steve, I'll go ahead and start with you.
Sure. Yeah, well, I can say I definitely didn't set out with the goal of becoming partner, much less managing partner. Early on, I was just focused on being diligent and conscientious and earning people's trust. And that led to more responsibility and promotions. One thing kind of led to another, and that's where I am now. You know, I would also say that I think that the time that I spent at PwC was really instrumental in helping me get where I am now. Just opened the door to a lot of opportunities. You have to learn a lot, have to learn fast. And I think after becoming a partner here at this firm, I've still been able to leverage, you know, some of the things that I learned while I was at PwC. Didn't have a grand plan, but just worked hard and people trusted me, and that gave me more opportunity.
Awesome. Awesome. Ethan, can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, so I went to LSU, go Tigers, and decided, you know, basically kind of the next biggest region or area to us was Houston. So kind of went that route with Public. When I was at Public, and very quickly, and after Houston, going to New York, when I was in Public, it was kind of the situation where it was like, do I stay, keep working through the ranks, or you know, maybe go see some sides of industry. So basically, at a certain point, decided just to take the plunge. I think part of it was a little bit work-life balance from the situation I was in. That's not the same for everybody. You know, I will say that the time spent in Public, you really can't understate the significance and the diversity of clients and things you see. It's very fast-paced, but also very rewarding. You know, going into industry, I was a little worried about that kind of thing. Having said that, as Sarah can attest, there's also never a dull day, it feels like. Sometimes even more so in certain areas, but you do get to see a lot of different sides of things that maybe you only saw from a bird's eye view, so to speak, from where I was at on the other side. But it's a good mix. Definitely could see myself back in the public sphere as well. Yeah, didn't really have a grand plan either. Just kind of, you know, I've only been at two different, you know, I guess since I started working, two different jobs really, and two different companies. You know, just kept progressing, kept taking advantage of new opportunities, and yeah, so here I am. I progressed up to senior manager here in Epicor, and yeah, just I guess no grand plan, but just kind of found myself here through hard work and just taking advantage of opportunities.
Awesome. Awesome. Kristen, that leaves it to you.
So from the time I was in college, I was actually a finance major and was all set to graduate. I was done with my coursework. I had enough units to graduate. I had submitted my application for graduation, and it sort of dawned on me, what am I really going to do with the finance degree? So I decided to stay in college to do my core accounting work. I finished the coursework in that. And as soon as I entered into the accounting major, I just knew that public accounting was the path for me. I never even dabbled with interviewing for industry type jobs. I just was dead set on entering into public accounting. What is so fulfilling to me with public accounting is the ability to really interact with your client and make a big impact on their life. And you get to see that sort of feedback and build that relationship. So the first firm that I worked at, I saw the partners doing just that. And it was like my eyes were wide open in terms of that's exactly what I want to do. I want to be a partner, and I'm going to work and do whatever I have to do to get there. So after my experience at the first firm, I ultimately left as a tax supervisor. So I had gone through 4 or 5 different promotions, and really the growth sort of plateaued. And so for me in my career, growth has been something that I've emphasized. It's very important to me. I want to make sure that I'm always expanding my horizons, my knowledge, the types of clients I'm servicing. And so at the next couple of public accounting firms that I went to work at, there just wasn't that path to partnership that I saw really coming to fruition for me. So as Sarah mentioned, when I had my cross-country move from California to Florida, my employment had ended at the previous firm I was at, and I was really faced with a decision of, I know what I want, and it's not really working out when I'm working at these different firms. So I'm going to start my own firm. So that's been my path. And you know, public accounting, I just talked to a partner that I spoke with yesterday. She was a partner. She was Sarah's partner too at a firm that we worked at. And she said to me, and this isn't meant to scare anyone, but she said to me, public accounting is not meant for the weak of heart. Like, it is not easy to deal with the public. There are situations that come up that can be very challenging, but of course, you know, just like working in industry, there's pros and cons. That pro and con of public accounting, the pro is to really see an impact in people's lives. For a quick example, I had a client come to me that I amended their previous year tax return. And when the client came to me, they said, look, we really feel like we're overpaying in taxes. This is really impinging on our personal life for us to get ahead and to buy a house, because we just get nailed with taxes every single year. And when I took a deeper dive and amended their prior year tax return, they ended up with a $33,000 refund. So that type of impact that you're able to have in people's lives is so rewarding, and that trust that you feel and the gratitude from people that you know that you're really doing something to help them out in their day-to-day life is just such an amazing feeling. It's so fulfilling. So just like everything, there's pros and cons, but for me, of course, in public, the pros outweigh the cons. And, you know, I love what I do and I love helping people. So it's been a really fulfilling and crazy journey.
Thank you for sharing that. I know, especially working face-to-face with tax clients, you know, they come to you and it's like, they don't know what they need, right? They know they don't want to pay less tax, but like a lot of times, especially when they're starting a business or looking at real estate, and a lot of times, you know, they're really, really relying on you. So I agree that it is rewarding to be that trusted advisor. And even in industry too, I mean, it's different, right, Ethan? But I mean, you're still, you know, trying to work with the goals of the company. Your management is coming to you with issues and strategic goals, and you're still helping them and helping the company. And so it's still rewarding in that aspect. I'm going to take a turn and kind of direct some more personal questions. And again, Steve, I'm going to start with you. So You're the managing partner at DK Partners. Can you share with us some of the challenges you face managing a 35-person firm, and also share just what's rewarding about that?
Well, I mean, from a challenge standpoint, I would just say that things are always changing. So it's dealing with constant change management. I mean, that change can include everything from staffing issues to client issues to trying to improve workflow, staying up to date with professional standards, managing through COVID and the move to remote work. It's funny, every time you feel like you're starting to get caught up and back into a steady state, there's another curveball thrown at you. So really at this point, it's just kind of an expectation of mine that things are going to be changing continuously. And maybe I get a little bit more comfortable with it that way, just knowing that's the way it's going to be. It's still a challenge though. It just takes energy. I would say from a reward standpoint, that was the second part of the question, right?
Yes.
Yeah, just, there's the appreciation from clients, the appreciation from team members. We try to make it a point to make our firm be a place where people really like to exist and treat each other with respect and so forth. So when I hear that echoed by my team members, that's rewarding to me. Makes me feel successful. And just leading a firm and seeing it grow and seeing it become more successful, what you've helped to build, is rewarding. And I guess I would also have to say that the financial rewards haven't been bad either.
Okay. Definitely. Kristen,
Definitely.
you have that to look forward to.
Yeah, no, 100%.
No, thank you for sharing, Steve. Kristen, I'm going to go back to you. You just started your business less than 6 months ago. What's been the hardest part of starting a business?
That's a really good question. So I knew this going into starting my business, that based on my personality, I love a collaborative environment, and to have partners that you can lean on and rely on and have a soundboard. So for me, the most challenging part, which is like a double-edged sword because I knew this going into it, was for me to be going into business as a solo practitioner. It's had its challenges. Luckily, I've built an incredible support team around me that if something comes up, that I know I have people I can reach out to that I trust, that are looking out for me. So that's been really amazing to have that, but it is a challenge every single day, especially in my professional experience. I've always worked at firms with multiple partners and managers that you can go to. So just not having a soundboard is a challenge, but luckily with research tools, a support system, trusted mentors that I still reach out to. My mentor is someone that still is so important to me. Mentorship is such a key to success, and it really, in my opinion, can be such a make or break in your career if you have that person that's taken you under their wing and has a vested interest in your success and growth, and they have the capacity to foster that. That is my number one piece of advice to jumpstart your career. So lack of mentorship might be a challenge for me in my immediate business. But again, I do have my trusted network that I can reach out to. So, and like Steve said, also the constant regulatory changes. There was just a deadline change for California clients. So with that, of course, comes all the challenges of being inundated with phone calls and emails. Like, what does this mean? What can we do? So just an ever-changing landscape can also be a challenge.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I would say that's definitely a scary decision when you're, used to one thing and then, kind of taking that risk and going out on your own. But they do say high risk, high reward. So
yes,
I know it's got to be nice to, kind of set your own schedule and things like that. So
yeah, the freedom has been nice.
Definitely. So Ethan, well, and Steve, you also worked at a Big Four accounting firm, but Ethan, you, I think, are the only one on the panel that made that transition from public accounting into industry. Can you tell me a little bit about what influenced that decision? And, if you were comparing the two, maybe you can give the mentees a couple pros and cons of each.
Yeah, no, and Yeah, I mean, I'll just, the truth of the matter is, this was going into, 2017 Tax Act that came through. Everybody was scrambling, as everybody on this call is probably aware, right? That's just where I was focused on is the provision side of things in New York, and for all these large banks that we were working through, whether it was on the audit side or on the provision prep side for the reporting, it was I think about 4 months of a ton of hours a week, which, like I said, that was not the case for everybody, but just in my sector, we were hit hard with planning needs, reporting needs. Business is great for that, but frankly, I was getting a bit burned out. And so just from where I was at in public, I could have stayed. Unfortunately, it just a bit snowballed into where I was like, okay, let's look at some other opportunities. And like I said, some people may go to another firm or another team to find what they're looking for there. I was looking more. I wasn't closed off the public, but at that point, just with the clients and things like that, it was, the hours were getting a bit crazy for me. So I found this job down in Epicor. At the time I was a manager, and actually I entered, it was more of an M&A specific role, like mergers and acquisitions, special projects, forecasting, stuff like that. So it was a little bit new to me, who was more in your, when you think about when you go into a big four, they kind of silo you, but we called it Fed tax at the time. They've changed the name probably 30 different times at each firm. My fiance also works for public accounting, so I hear all the names too. I did provision and tax return compliance, and now I'm doing something a little different, right? I was doing something in a new atmosphere and a new job. So I got in when I came in. It was a bit different in terms of who you call them customers, right? When you're in public, you have clients, those are your customers. We'll use the terms customers still, but those customers change into our, not only our lenders, but also your internal, customers, which would be your, CAO, your CFO, your CEO, your executive leadership team. They need to make their decisions based on things happening. And we also cash taxes and things like that. That is, when they're paying money, it's noted, right? So they need to know what they expect to, cash planning, what they expect to pay, or what they're reporting on their 10Ks and Qs. So that's how that changed. And also the diversity of work as well. I thought I was a little nervous about not having, multiple clients and not seeing a multitude of different issues, and also learning a ton on those issues, right? So that's one of the biggest things for me that I was trying to make the decision on was, you just learn so much in public. You just see so much from different areas and different clients. But I will say I was pleasantly surprised. Our company, this isn't every company, but I think most companies that are trying to succeed in today's world are always looking for opportunities, essentially opportunities out there in the market or within, in terms of internal planning and things like that. So like I said, still never a dull day, but the diversity of work changes a bit in terms of now you're on this back end, right? And you're trying to help your own company improve in terms of their processes, also in terms of cash tax planning, or, when we're talking about M&A, we're very acquisitive. That's a big factor in terms of taxes, right? So that was a good learning opportunity, and working with some of our leaders in the company as well directly on that. I'm now since back more into the provision side. I'm senior manager of the reporting as well. So still have a bit of a hand in M&A, but it's been different types of work, but the work-life balance is better. I did get a little bump in pay, but I think that's typical if you're going from one job to another, right? So I wouldn't say it's anything out of like standard if I went to another public accounting firm or anything like that. But those are some of the differences and some of the decisions that went into me making the move.
Yeah. It is. I was pleasantly surprised also just in industry, you really do see a breadth of different things. And again, maybe it's not every company, but if you work at a bigger company, you can potentially have the opportunity to see a lot of different things, but it's all you're only focused on how it affects, your company and not necessarily how this affects your client portfolio across the board. So you get a little bit more focused in that sense, but thanks for sharing. Oh gosh, I had my next question in my mind and it just went, okay. So Ethan and Steve, you both are in a hiring position. So, you do candidate interviews. And when you're doing these interviews, can you share with us what are some of the most valuable skills that you see in young professionals that are entering the field? I'm sorry, Steve, we'll start with you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I mean, especially, for candidates and people that are earlier in their public accounting career, I would say the thing that I'm kind of looking for is just they have a positive attitude, a real willingness to learn. Do they seem like they're going to be a team player and not disruptive to our culture? Do they have a desire to contribute to the greater good? Most things can be taught, but attitude maybe is a little bit more innate. So those are kind of things we look for. And then thinking about the interview setting, what I would say is, to me, the candidates that stand out are those that demonstrate an ability to listen and to think critically and then provide responses with detailed answers, hopefully, and sometimes I'll prompt, think back to a time when, to try to prompt that type of thinking, but, when they can put some good thought into an answer, put some detail in it, I like that. And then the ability to formulate good questions, about the opportunity or the role, maybe. Those are some of the things I like to look for or stand out to me.
I absolutely agree, Steve. And what I'm hearing from that is when a candidate's able to articulate well and experience, it shows that they have good communication. And I think, working in a collaborative environment and potentially working with clients, you really have to be able to communicate, and that's something that's not easily taught. So if a candidate's able to come in and demonstrate that, early on, I definitely agree. The technical stuff can be taught, but the personality is just who kind of, who the person is. Ethan, what about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Steve nailed it on the head, especially with somebody who's a bit younger in their career, right? Maybe they're looking for their first, looking at the first job or maybe second, early on. The biggest thing is communication. And, that what stands out in the interview is, I like it when they have good questions and well thought out questions that they've prepped for in advance. That shows a bit of just understanding the atmosphere and doing the due diligence in terms of who you're, applying to, instead of just saying, I'm going to rapid fire a bunch of, resumes out and then just go through it and make the interviewer basically run the show. You're interviewing the company or the firm as well as they are interviewing you. So, something I like to do, or I like when people do this is, if I was interviewing, when I interviewed for Epicor, they aren't public, but you can look up the company, you can see what industry they are in, you can see who their customers are and what some of their, I guess, news type facts that have occurred recently. So you got to get a profile of what's going on, but also understanding the questions you want to ask, and also just in terms of more topical to what they are, right? So I think that shows a bit of preparation that is also key to being an accountant that you need, right? So I always like it when that comes up, and I encourage anybody who's going into those interviews, do a little bit of research into who you're interviewing with, and then also have some questions prepared, just in terms of a high level company standpoint that shows that you kind of are looking into it and serious about the interview itself. So like I said early on, I've hired, especially at Epicor, but also before that, I've looked at people who've had a completely different industry focus, or sorry, I say tax focus. As you know, it's an inch wide, mile deep, right? There can be partnerships, so I'll focus on partnerships or corporate or individuals. I don't care, honestly, if it's a partnership versus a corporation. Like, we're corporate, but I care more about the individual in terms of the willingness to learn. And some of our best candidates had no corporate experience, mainly partnership experience, or the other way around, right? And they come in here and they kill it, right? Because we knew that they would be good to learn with, and they showed that, and that's why we hired them. And I'm always excited to teach people, right? So I think that's the biggest thing from my standpoint when I'm looking at candidates, is that communication and the questions back and forth, and that I'm not the one having to run the interview, that they're showing an investment in the interview as well.
Absolutely. And that's something that's important too. The interview should always go both ways. It's not, you want to make sure it's a good fit for both parties. And so I think, that's one area, a lot of times candidates can get shy, and, but they need to also be vetting that it's the right opportunity for them, so they don't, make a misstep. Because I've made missteps in my career where I started working somewhere it wasn't the right fit, and I didn't know until I got there. And that happened early on for me, and it really made me learn that you definitely have to ask questions. You definitely have to get a feel, walk around the office and now it's hard in a world where a lot of things are done virtually, but so if you don't have that opportunity to actually see what the office culture is, at least ask a lot of questions. But thanks for sharing. I know we have about 10 more minutes. And well, actually, sorry, Lauren, we were going to do the last 15 for, I think, breakout rooms. Is that correct?
Yep. If we don't have questions that go over, yeah, we can do that.
Okay. So I have, I think, one more question I really would like to ask all three panelists, just because it pertains to this committee. Did you have a mentor earlier in your career, and how did that shape, where you ended up today? And Kristen, I'm going to start with you.
Yes, as mentioned, I definitely had a mentor at my first positions. I was still in college working at a public accounting firm, and the mentor that I had, that is still my mentor today, I would consider her, was so instrumental in setting the stage for my success, because there was a go-to that I knew was there for me and wanted to help me learn and grow. And I tended to be the type of person that had a lot of questions. I was starting fresh, never had done tax before in my life except during a college course. And she fostered that approach with me, and by being available and willing to help and take me under her wing to help develop my technical skills, whether that was sitting in on client meetings and just being a fly on the wall, on the job training with shadow training, asking for any and all projects that could be assigned to me. And again, having my mentor there for me really helped also develop my confidence in my skills. And also, when I approached a topic I didn't understand, it just made me feel like that's okay. This isn't something that is a challenge I can't overcome. My mentor's here with me. She's trying to help me. And just really having that go-to person early in your career and throughout your career, that there's someone in your corner that wants to see you succeed and is there to help you. So the mentoring aspect of a career is so important. And I've seen people in their careers that they're trying to jumpstart that they didn't have a mentor. And truly, I think it's a detriment to them to not have a mentor in your corner. It's just so valuable on so many different levels.
Awesome. And multiple mentors. The more
Multiple.
mentors, the better.
Multiple, 100%, multiple. And those people that just really have a vested interest in you and your success is going to be critical for, career growth.
Awesome. Steve, what about you? Did you have a mentor? Do you still have a mentor?
Well, what I would say is I worked for many partners while I was at PwC. There were some were better role models and mentors maybe than other. One of the things that kind of scared me at PwC was a lot of the partners were divorced or estranged from their families, and kind of decided that wasn't the life I wanted. But that's a little off topic. The best mentor I had, the reason I call him the best mentor is he showed me how to use my personality to my advantage. I would say I was kind of plagued by imposter syndrome while I was at PwC. I was setting an impossibly high bar or standard for myself. Just you have to know everything all the time, and it's just impossible. And he was able to kind of coach me to focus on my strengths and help me get comfortable that those strengths were enough to succeed. So that's kind of what stands out as far as why that individual I would consider being my best mentor. One thing I did lose a little bit of when I left big firm and went to small firm, didn't have quite as much of many mentorship opportunities. And I wish I had put a little bit more emphasis on trying to expand my network to keep that going over the course of my career. Fortunately, I've had other partners that have proven to be really beneficial, the relationships, the technical knowledge, so it's not as much of a mentor role, but more of a counterpart role that I've been able to lean on currently.
Awesome. Yeah, that's always a good one too, especially when you've got multiple partners in a firm. Personalities, balance each other out. Everyone's got different experience and you've got synergy. So that can be really, really nice also. And Ethan, how has mentorship influenced your career?
Yeah, no, also while I was at the firm, you have so many different teams, especially as you're progressing, and you work with different partners, as well as, if I'm an associate or senior associate or manager, it's like the senior managers or the directors, right? That you may be working closely with. And I would say that, expanding your network is key, right? You don't need just the one mentor. I've developed good relationships with many of my teams and the people I still keep up with today. And every time I feel like I reconnect with them, they're asking if I need a job to come back to me, basically to come back, right? Which is another good thing, right? Is, if you hitch your wagon, so to speak, to good people, and you have a good working relationship with. Another good thing about public is a lot of those people will move on, and when they think of roles and you're looking for roles, potentially sometimes you may align with they have a good opportunity. They know who to call or just to reach out to see if you're interested, right? So that's another good aspect of having a mentor, and I can't impress that enough. Relationships are everything. It's another reason why if you're at a job, I've seen this, you've been working 70-hour weeks and somebody quits and they kind of quit in a, burn all the bridges and they just walk out, right? You don't, even if you're feeling that, you don't want to do that. You want to keep the working relationship cordial, right? And that was back in the public accounting days, but it's something I see. And also that one of my mentors told me, was saying, hey, no matter how you're feeling, you can express that to people, within your inner circle maybe, but always try to, if you're leaving another opportunity to go somewhere else, you always want to leave on a good relationship. And for the most part, hopefully that, you're going for different reasons other than, a relationship, working relationship type thing. But that's another good thing about mentorship, is that you can keep that network going, and that could present opportunities down the road for you. So also, just from a technical aspect, pinging questions back and forth from each other. I've had people who've moved on. We've still talked about stuff and understanding how, okay, this is what I'm seeing on my side. Is that something similar? How are you guys looking at these new, provisions or regs that came out, right? That's another key great aspect of having a mentor, is to always have somebody else there to maybe who's going through the similar type of situation to mount some questions off of, if you can do that. So yeah, no, can't impress it enough. It is so important. And just to try to find those relationships in your work life and in your working your working roles, right? So
Yeah, thank you, Ethan. Yeah, I can't express enough also, don't burn bridges. Even like you said, when you feel like the roof's caving in and you're like, I'm quitting, I'm leaving, but you never know. You may get to this new job and hate it and want to come back. So it happens. But also too, you never know what can happen down the road. So yeah, definitely always want to, leave a situation on good terms. So I'm going to open up the floor now. I know, Sam, I know you had raised your hand, and if anyone else has any questions, you can direct it to all of our panelists or a singular panelist. We'll start with you, Sam.
Yeah. So for the ones that are in the public accounting, is there any particular service that seems to be in the highest demand? I mean, I would just assume tax, but that's just from the little bit that I know.
Yeah, I can jump in on this one. I'd be happy to. Funny enough, even though I've spent my career as an auditor, if I could coach myself coming out of school now, I would say go the tax route. Part of that, is just simple economic supply and demand. There's just such a shortage of tax preparers. It's just not something that a lot of younger folks want to do. There's a lot of older preparers retiring. But also knowing myself now, knowing that I'm more comfortable in the small firm type of environment, I think being a tax preparer is more conducive. You have more runway probably in your career in a small firm as being a tax preparer. The audit game is it's getting tougher and tougher for small firms. So yeah, I would highly encourage folks to give serious consideration to the tax preparation path.
Yeah, I see everybody shaking their head. I think everyone can definitely agree with the shortage of tax professionals, and what that creates. The demand means we can charge a lot higher rates. I mean, I've seen increases in billing rates, 30-40% in the last couple of years, and a lot of it's because salaries are going up, but also because, like Steve says, there's a lot of people retiring and not enough people coming into the industry. So, and it's an interesting industry too. It's never a dull moment, but yeah, does
May I ask
anyone
a
else?
follow-up question to that?
Absolutely.
Are the services like TurboTax even a competition, or are those?
I can speak on that, and I would say definitely not. Like, the client that can go to H&R Block and have a return prepared by H&R Block is not going to be your high billing client. So the client, like, even for me especially, my biggest revenue generator is tax planning and strategy. So the compliance piece, and when I say compliance, like the actual filing of the tax return, is not where the big bucks are, or where it requires a lot of sophistication. So the strategy and planning side is where that proactive mindset is allowed to shine and really infuse so much value for clients' financial and tax situations, because you're thinking ahead, and before the end of the tax year, you still have time to strategize and deploy different strategies, refer them to someone that can provide additional information about some strategy. So it really isn't the compliance aspect of it, where like the big bucks are. Like the compliance, if a client can go to TurboTax, prepare their own tax return, or go to H&R Block, for me personally, that wouldn't be a client that I would take on. So that's your run of the mill, just typical 1040 or a small corporate tax return. It's not something that you can't do, but just you might not have as much to work with within that client engagement that would allow your value to shine through.
In fact, I remember working in public accounting and being very honest with people that they maybe didn't need a CPA. Like if you just have, you have a W-2, and just I've been pretty honest with people about that. If you're
so
a basic, tax return, you don't really have anything going on, you could probably fill in the boxes yourself, or go to H&R Block, and because it's just not going to be worth the firm onboarding you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, is there any other questions from the audience? Everyone always gets shy during this part, but I see people unmuting.
Ask questions.
I have a question for Kirsten. That's your name, Kirsten.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I have been doing income tax since I was 16 years old. I'm 48 now. And just in 2000, and I want to say 2007, I started up my own little, I don't say firm because it's just me. I'm sole proprietor of income tax. My biggest thing is, how do I build on my clientele? Can you enlighten me on that? Because I have like, you just spoke about the little people that has the 1099s or W-2s. I have those folks, and some of them I charge $350 for. Some of them I do less because a lot of them are students, and I try to be a little lenient with my prices for them. But I do have 2 clients that own their own business, and I do their taxes. But my biggest problem is finding new clients and the ones that's going to stick around with the big bucks.
Yes, that's a really good question, Tiffany. And so it sounds like you've been in business for a while, and in terms of what your skill set is and what you specialize in. For example, for myself, I have picked a specialization, and that's real estate. So real estate transactions, and strategy is an area of the tax code that I have zeroed in on, and that's become like my reputation. So when I work with clients in that industry and we have favorable results and we have great strategy going on, usually they're in professional networks that they can say, the conversation with one of their friends might be, hey, Kristen Arnold was able to perform a tax strategy session for me, and it's resulted in me saving X amount of dollars. So like Sarah was talking about earlier, relationships are so important, and fostering those relationships with your clients and infusing value into their tax attributes, generates that word of mouth that, truthfully, for me, all of my clients have come to me from word of mouth. And there have been clients that have come to me that haven't been the right fit, that, just whatever has happened, that it just hasn't worked out. But, really just focusing on that high level of service, emphasizing the value that you're offering to the client, in terms of billing and the struggles maybe that you faced around billing, that as a CPA, we're not really salespeople, but in those situations, you become like a salesperson. Wow. But in this application, you're providing a service that the client needs and that will help them. So really, just emphasizing that the relationship is mutually beneficial. It's a trusted partnership between yourself and your client, and just essentially letting them know that, hey, we're on the same team here together, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help you and provide value. And, essentially with that great experience, the client can share that and start to generate some word of mouth referrals.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I do have one of my clients. He owns an electrical company. He does refer a few of his friends, and I have been doing theirs as well.
Perfect.
So
yeah.
But I don't know. I just want to be a smaller version of H&R Block. Put it like that. But I just want to do my own thing. That's what I want. I just want my clientele to just expand. That's my focus.
Like, yeah, high volume. It sounds like you want to do more high volume and like maybe smaller returns.
Yes.
So you can also too consider doing some Google ads and marketing your firm that way, because you can get a lot of interest in that way. And also, I don't know if everybody's aware, but TurboTax is not free anymore. So, and I think this is the first year that they're not on the IRS's list of free tax providers. So I think there's going to be a lot of people in the next couple of years that are, realizing that, hey, if I have to pay for TurboTax now, I might as well pay for a professional to do it, and maybe be willing to pay a little bit more for that. But definitely look into, Google ads, even marketing on Instagram or TikTok. A lot of like newer CPA firms are utilizing that as a way to get their name out there. And, you have to be good too about filtering out, who you're onboarding, because not everybody that, calls is going to be a good fit, right, somebody you want to work with. But that's definitely, you know, an inorganic way to get your name out there and expand that portfolio. So we've got about 5 minutes left. If we have more questions, we'll just stay with questions, but otherwise we can do breakout rooms for the mentee mentors to kind of get a few minutes of one-on-one time. I'll let you guys decide. Do we have any more questions?
My mentees aren't here. Do I just break out with, I guess, someone else?
Yeah, Ben, we can break out together, Lauren, since his
Okay.
I have Diane here actually. Do we have
Yeah.
do we have another mentor here that's
Ben
mentee's not here?
and Wash, neither one of them have any mentees here.
Okay.
So y'all can
All
be
right.
off the hook if you want, or you can go into another room.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, then if we don't have any additional questions, I would just like to say I really appreciate, you know, the panelists and the mentors and the mentees. I appreciate everyone being here, but, you know, especially the panelists, thank you for taking, you know, an hour out of your day. I know it's busy season for everyone, even in audit, Steve. I know you guys are still in busy season right now also. So it really means a lot to have you here. And this is also recorded. So I know some of our mentees couldn't make it because they have class and things like that, but they get to watch the recordings and kind of follow up with their mentors on the topic. So we definitely appreciate your time. And I guess with that, we'll let you all enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll break out into our rooms for a few more minutes.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.